Anyway, I'm Julian Wheeler, I work for NetApp. Been with them for far too long now. I started 13 years ago, and so I've seen a lot of change. The company's grown many times, times at least. Been through a lot, and so I'm going to cover a few things today. Every now and then they'll wheel me out to kind of talk to people, and I have the opportunity, just like Ed was saying, to talk to somebody. So I'm going to do a few things. First of all, I'm going to look at this. So we're a data storage management company. Okay? And very much like the Cisco model, that partnership, that's how we come to market through our partnerships. Strong partnerships with other alliance vendors and strong partnerships with our partners, our customer partners like Imtech. I work in our channel team. I was brought into NetApp to come and help create a good scalable channel model. Now, over 80% of our UK business is through channel partners. Take out the top 10 US banks, and we're over 90% of channel partners. So, very strong partner-led organisation. So I want to do a few things. I want to look at some of the economic challenges that people like yourselves in the room face. And then we're going to do something brave, look about 5 years in the future and see what are the kind of things that are keeping CIOs awake at night. Then I'm going to sort of talk about our go-to-market member called Agile, data infrastructure. Try and qualify those three words, what that actually means to me. We've already talked about infrastructure. Strong play on data for us, of course. The essential features, there's 9 key features there. We'll pick 3 of them and go into them very briefly, show you what these mean, why they're very important for you. Then I want to just do a little bit of freakonomics and finish up the case study. And I'm up for a while. 30 minutes max, right? Let's see if we can do in less than that. Okay, so economic challenges, view of the future. The first thing is data growth. I came into this business, I mean, you're all going to say, no way for someone so young, but it's true, when floppy disks really were floppy. Okay? And then we move up the chain. I think we're at somewhere around about 5 zettabytes globally of digitized data, growing ever more. And there's a number of reasons what's causing, things that's causing this. Obviously, the very first thing that all impacted us 5 or 6 years ago was this requirement for us to have environments where we could have copies of data which were immutable and unchangeable for systems of record. Compliance was the big word, and we all started creating copies of data. And we have increasing numbers of copies of data. Okay? Anybody in the room want to actually admit to deleting any corporate data recently? No? Not even the pictures of the 2005 Christmas party. We just want to delete them for some reason. The next thing that's causing it is these collaborative networks. It's true that human beings generate an awful lot of data. Even more so now that everybody's chipping away on their fingers in their pockets, sending in messages up to Twitter sphere and so forth. Collaborative networks drive huge amounts of data. You know, during that 10 seconds, the Usain Bolt dashed down his 100 meters in the 2012 Games last year, over 80,000 tweets per second. That was big then. Now, Twitter is kind of on an average busy time during the day, it's between 78,000 tweets a second. I think sometime a few months ago, Twitter exceeded 500 million tweets per day. You can go and buy that feed off them if you want to. Companies do for some reason. They try and look at these data and apply big data analysis, do put various different technologies onto it, and get competitive trending. They're going to get clean information from that. The kind of information that you get when you spot a trend before it even becomes a trend. And they can make analysis and decisions on where the market's going. But you've got to be in a position to be able to accept 150 terabytes of data per day. That's the first day, that's okay. Second day is getting a bit hard. Third day is getting really difficult to absorb this. It's called the Twitter fire hose. The next thing that's generating is that we're all carrying in our pockets a device which is not a PC. We're all increasingly expecting to be able to use that device for services delivered from our IT in ways that we want to use it and we're expecting it. This presents data challenges. How do we present it? How do we secure that? How do we keep that, the rights to that data? How do we protect it? And lastly, Cisco's providing networks, thankfully, and we're all expecting to be able to watch and listen to things in increasingly high def. I don't want to watch Gangnam Style in low def, I want to watch. And so the next thing, Gartner was saying this a few years ago, I don't know, but they were saying that the data is going to grow 500% from 2010 to 2015. Now let's put that into context. This is a higher data growth than the rate at which the disk manufacturers were able to double the capacity of their hard disks. So if you have a system which is meeting the requirements now, it's got 100 disks in it, there might be 1 terabyte, 2 terabyte, whatever they are. Data has grown faster than you can implement a new system or update your system by simply taking out one technology, a disk, and putting in the next. That poses the next challenge, which is one of scalability and performance. You see, I've got to be able to put in place an environment now, or a system, or infrastructure now, which can meet these huge scalability issues from compute, network, storage. And also, I've got to be able to have a system which can meet my increasing performance requirements. There's loads we can talk about with performance, but let's just think of some very obvious things. You see, in the past, enterprise storage environments just had to deal with storing data. When you gave it to us, we hold it for you, and when you wanted it back, we give it to you back. It's the application back at the right I/O rates and I/O rate of megabits per second required. Now, we're putting the operating system onto these enterprise OS. Okay? Either VDI or virtualization. So we're handling huge amounts of I/O traffic. It wasn't just storing files. It's now I/O traffic for the operating system. It's swap space. It's all sorts of stuff. It's all the virtual machine sits on there. That's one thing. Another thing is that we're increasingly looking to say, I've got my data, I now want to interrogate it from a different angle and get some competitive, real proper competitive value from it. Okay? I want to apply it to Mongo or some other technology up there and glean some information. It gives me an edge, really helps me go to market. That poses serious performance issues on that. So how do we implement systems? How do we put in place infrastructure which can meet those? And the last area I just want to touch on is something called operational disruptions. Now, I could be tempted to just click on well, let me just tell you what I mean by operational disruptions. You see, over the last 10, 20 years, we in IT have been selling to our customers solutions which are completely mitigated against, or completely mitigated against disasters. Okay? These are disaster recovery environments, business continuity environments. Okay? And they will protect you against the unforeseen tragedy of an earthquake, or a fire, or a flood, or some such catastrophe. Okay? What we have very kindly and carefully swept under the carpet, which I'm confessing now, is the requirement for you to periodically, throughout the year, take your system down for us to make changes to it. Maybe we need to buzz the firmware up, or maybe we need to add some cards, or some memory, or change some element of it. We have to take it down. And it's become self-evident that this is a requirement and you can't get around it. Now that was okay when we were building things, as Ed was saying, and Georgia, in a very stovepiped environment, with one application running on one stack. Because that was giving one service. And if you needed to take that down for any reason for a couple of hours, you're impacting one service. And you could probably find a time when you could do that. Now we have completely virtualized environments with a nice converged infrastructure stack there, running 60 different services off this one piece of hardware. You don't have to get and negotiate an agreed time when you can take the entire system down for 2 hours to do some maintenance. And you need to get the buy-in from 60 different services. Now, that's challenging enough if this is your own private environment, private cloud, getting the buy-in across the organization. It can take 4 weeks for you to get consensus as to when is appropriate time to take the system down in 2 hours. Somewhere for this confusion. If you're a service provider, it becomes a whole different game. You've got multiple different customers you're going to try and get business from. So operational disruptions has become absolutely critical, but not many people think of including this as a requirement on their RFP, or when they go and seek information from the space, because they don't necessarily know that it's possible to put in a solution that can meet this and address this and give you zero operational disruption. So let's go on. Again, and this is gleaned from information from various sort of analysts around and put together. And I apologise, it's kind of about a year old, this slide now. So on the one hand, it's old. On the other hand, I see things, elements of it coming true, which which gives me some confidence that people like Georgia know what they're talking about. So the first thing is quite boring. Quite boring, it's like disk. It's saying that fibre channel will disappear, and indeed fibre channel interface has disappeared. We've got fibre channel disk drives anymore. Okay, the 15,000 RPM disk speeds disappearing again. It's all going to 10,000 RPM. Interesting. And SATA SAS disks become prevalent, and flash grows like crazy. Number one vendor in the whole world for selling flash, NetApp. Over 51 petabytes of NetApp flash sales. Okay? We went into the flash market in 2008. Okay. Next one. 10 gig Ethernet becomes prevalent. Absolutely, becomes ubiquitous. I would say that anybody given the opportunity to build a new data center or something or new environment would be looking to put 10 gig Ethernet backbone in place and run away with services on that. Absolutely. I'm not saying fibre channel will go away, it has its place, of course, just like mainframe never went away, it has its place, but the majority of that, and indeed I believe that we and our labs back in Silicon Valley are testing Cisco's 40 gig Cisco working on 100 gig, so the future of networking and storage networking is definitely Server virtualization continues unabated. Sometime mid-last year, mid-2012, I don't know exactly which month, we exceeded the seesaw switch to the other side, and the number of virtual machines globally exceeded the number of physical servers. Okay, they were predicting 58 billion by the end of last year. I have no idea if anybody counted it, but anyway. And so, what's driving that, of course, is continued application consolidation, rationalization, more virtualization, and so forth. And then, for me, it starts getting interesting. Saying, a year to 18 months ago, 50% of organizations would increase data center capacity, and 30% would plan new data centers. And I was thinking, who the heck are these people? Everybody I'm talking to at the moment, basically saying, I want to get rid of data centers. They're not green, they're very power hungry, they're not very nice, they're very complex and horrible to run, and I don't want it. And I want to talk to you about how I get from 5 to 2. And then they're saying that 30% will actually build new data centers, and now I know who they are. It's a what happens. Building these new data centers. We're in bed 62, 63, within 10 mile radius. These are the people whose businesses are growing. And in fact, it's absolutely true now. The largest growing part of business in the last 3 years has been the service provider business. Okay. And then lastly, fascinating. CIO salaries become pegged to the revenue that IT generates for their organisation. So in IT, we've had a very privileged, quite fortunate, quite lucky situation in that the value that IT delivers to our organisations, the return on the investment for making the investment has been so high, it's been self-evident. Whatever you all started with your new company, the first thing they gave was a bright, shiny, brand new laptop, stacked full of software, ready to go. Well, I mean, this costs you $2,500, $3,000, whatever it is. I mean, that's an investment. What the return that they get from giving you that is so high. That's just a simple example. It's become self-evident. But now, during this recession, that's tumbling down into this horrible recession, it's gone for 67 months now. Over 5.5 years, unprecedented. The deal has become this: if you want a seat at the boardroom table, you've got to be able to show us what revenue you're generating gives you the want to sit here. And that's what the CIO is. Okay? Data management is one of the top indicators of how we want to measure the business. The next thing, take us really into the pit of despair, is this: our customers, the consumers in our organizations of IT, have choices. Everybody in this room has heard of Dropbox. Everybody in this room will probably use Dropbox, and everybody has probably used Dropbox for a corporate-related thing. And the question is, why did you use Dropbox? The answer is because it was available, because it served a purpose. I needed to share some good files, and I needed to collaborate. Now, my question is, why did you use Dropbox as opposed to something else that your IT organization provided you that will give you the same functionality? And the reason is IT didn't give you that functionality. Okay? Same with Amazon, EC2, and other companies like this. I have a friend of mine who travels around India, and he talks to a lot of CIOs and CTOs, And he talks to them, he understands their issues and their business, and he feeds that back into our corporation to help us make decisions on how we actually go to market, what we do. And he also tries to give them some ideas to how that could benefit. And he went off, flew somewhere, and spoke to some IT manager, and he told me this story. He said, he went to this IT manager, and he said, can I ask you some question? The question is, what value do you think that you're giving to your users? The IT manager said, I think it's pretty good. He said, could you give me some idea as to how do you judge that? Well, if a user comes to me, one of my guys comes to me and says, I think I like this new service. He says, I'll go do some due diligence, and I'll go check out whether this service could be benefit the right organization. And if this makes sense, I'll do some rough budgetary costing, and then I'll go to the board, propose it, and seek approval for this budget spend, and then I'll go to the tender, and I'll look at first responses, make a decision, the right decision makers in, and then we'll go to tender, then we'll procure it. Then we'll bring it in and we'll develop and test, and then we'll go out and no complaints. So earlier went off and he strolled along and he walked to see the actual users. And this was a development test. This is a bunch of guys doing a lot of software and testing. And he said to the guys, can you tell me one question? He asked one question. What sort of service do you think you get from IT? He said, it's crap. He said, that's interesting. Why? Can you just tell me why? I said, yeah. Here's an example. We're a big software development house, right? So we go through all of our development. At the end of that development cycle, we come to a testing cycle. We need to do it quick, short. We need to get our testing done as quick as we can, find out where the bugs are, find out where the issues are, and then we roll back into development, iron those out, and we go to testing. Do you think we can get test rigs up? IT, sensible sized environment for us to do our aggressive testing? Not a chance. It would take months. We just don't have it. He said, so what do? Well, what we do is we just go onto House EC2, we spin on 5 virtual machines with enough compute and storage, upload our data, upload our test rig software, do aggressive regression testing and all that stuff. Once we've done that, we fold it all down, close down the machines, get our data back, pay for it on credit card, expensive. It sounds ridiculous, but this happened. There are companies, and I don't know if in the UK, but certainly companies in America, who have uncontrolled spends of over $1 billion per month just doing this. What a mismatch between one company, one element part of the company's belief, and the other, and they're just not it at all. So, thankfully, we've got some solutions in place. And the first thing we've got to recognise is this whole thing about infrastructures are evolving. I just want to give you very briefly NetApp spin. Now, I would suggest that the first element of the stack to become what I class as infrastructure is network. You see, when I say network, so most of you in the room, you don't think of the packet and all the headers and subframes within the packet and IP. You don't think of the second layer model or whatever. You don't think of routers and switches and CNAs and HBAs and routing tables and DNS and broad gateway protocol, all this, you think of the network in the different mindset, different concepts. You think of it in terms of this cloud, right? This shape like that with wires going in that, and it just works. It's intelligent. It's clever and keeps going. Maybe a bit between your house and the rest of the network. It starts, but the internet keeps going. And the next area to become what I class infrastructure is servers. You see, 5 or 6 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, servers were very physical machines. And the application was tethered to the physical machine. And one company changed that over the end. And they broke that connection. Now we think the servers are completely different. Servers, the application system is a virtual server, and it can dial between physical machines, keeping the service available. And we think about servers in a much different way to how we used to 10 years ago, if you're old. The last area of the stack to be what I class as infrastructure is storage. Storage has been a very physical element. But now, thankfully, with some of the things that we are doing, and maybe some other things, most of them is to enable you to start thinking about storage in similar ways to the way that we think about network and servers. And that's really how I want to define it. See, when I talk to people about storage and data, they immediately start thinking about what regular, what type of disk do I need, what spin speed, do I want fast, do I want slow, how am I going to accelerate, what am I doing to cache? All these very physical nitty-gritty bits, like how it used to be with networking back in the 90s. Yeah? Our quest is to get people to start thinking about data storage in the same kind of mindset that we think about networks. Now, once you've got all that together, and you've got this rich set of APIs like Ed was saying, okay, we can bundle these resources together, and we can start to apply some nice software which helps you manage the whole thing as one, and you get all of them working together as one, this orchestration, and you start to be able to apply workflows to it. The value of a workflow is amazing. If you can automate, you can have a known defined outcome. It doesn't allow you to have any introduction of error, human error, and so forth. Once you've done that, you can put a service catalog over the top, and you can get users to come in and say, look, yes, I need 5 machines to do my testing. I need 20 minutes to spun up, ready to go. Now that's a flex point. Okay? That's all you need to know. That's a flex point. It has some fancy stuff from Cisco, some fancy networking, some fancy storage from NetApp, and then has a hypervisor. Okay? So, let's go on. So, Agile data infrastructure. There are 9 key areas, and you can apply many of these to across the whole stack if you want. But thinking about just about storage, I mean, there's very important things: integrate data protection, security, scaling, and so forth. There's 3 I want to talk about. I want to talk about efficiency, non-disruptive operations, and service automation. I'm willing to talk to you about any of these for at length, but let's keep it real here. First thing is efficiency. Now, hopefully your budget's going up slightly. Yeah. It's a true fact that data is growing at some rate, somewhere between 50 and 100%, depending on the size and type of your organization. It's unfortunate that if you want to store 100 terabytes of data, you probably have to buy 130, 150 terabytes of physical disk. You know, that's how it is. And the question is, what's causing all this growth? Well, the main thing is that we have copies of data. And there's various reasons why we have copies of data. It might be the level of RAID that we're using. It might be that we have loads of compliance or backup or duplicated data. So NetApp comes along, it applies a suite of technologies to the data, enabling you to deduplicate down, to compress, to remove, get yourself back down to a single copy of data. As many places as possible. Shrink the amount of data you're actually holding. Now the next thing is we come and bring some technologies up at the storage layer, okay, virtualization technologies, which helps you shrink the amount of storage. It's amazing, we seem to be the only storage vendor out there that's trying to sell our customers less storage. Well, that's really good for our customers. Yeah? And so that's the power of efficiency. You see, because if you look at the way that budgets are distributed, and the way that on average you spend your IT budget in a year, 63% of it is down in this very commoditized area of just running what you've already got. 23% is spent on growing and actually doing some business impact stuff and bringing some value to organization, and 16% is spent on the little transformation stuff that's going to really give you competitive edge. Yeah? It's through efficiency that we move money from there to there. That friend of mine who I was talking about, who goes traveling around here, he asked customers 2 questions. So you've been using NetApp for a while now, and that first question is this: why did you buy NetApp in the first place? And the answer is always efficiency. Because I needed to save money here, I needed to get to revenues. That's what NetApp's like, double-digit growth for the whole session. The next area is I want to just talk about the value of automation. You see, if you can put a FlexPod in or some sort of converged stack in here, and you can get all the APIs and you can put the management software like Cloudflare or something over it, you get it all working nicely together, and I can start to give a service catalog out to my users. We can have a user come and self-service because I need this. And another user comes along and says this, and gradually your resources get consumed, and we can charge out to them to make them realize the value of what they're actually asking for, put some pricing and some context around it, and so forth. And that's very much an internal kind of private cloud. The difference between this and a public cloud, there's about 3 differences I can see. First thing is this: the user comes along and they ask for an environment, they ask for something big. And you don't know, as a cloud service provider, what it's going to be. What is the next thing, the next customer that's going to come to me going to be asking for. In your own organisation, you've probably got a view of what's required of you in the next 6 to 9 months. Beyond 9 months, it starts to get a bit murky. Not too sure. 18 months out, really, I don't know what's going to happen. Okay? Whatever you put in has got to be flexible and agile enough for you to be able to meet the requirements we go through that technology. The second thing is that the next customer comes along, I've got to be able to put an air gap between them. I can't have any situation where the data gets mixed up, the data pass across. That would be strong. Okay? And the third challenge around service provider companies is that they've got to be able to run that service for at least 30% less than it costs you to do it yourself in-house. And they've got to make it profit. Okay? So efficiency, this secure multi-tenancy really plays a part. Okay. The last thing is this, non-disruptive operations. Brace yourselves, I don't make claims to any animation. Here we go. So, this might appear commonly in some sort of context in your mind as to what's going on in your own environment. You see, things grew over time. We never intended it to start looking like this. But we came in and we got a bunch of servers here which were at their storage, and we started to do some clever things and build SANs. But the characteristics of the requirement around compute and data for this environment was different for this one. Different characteristics, different requirements, different IOP levels, different rates at which you have to provide SMAs and things like this. And they all got a bit mixed up. And with these things, they're all put in with the best intentions. And it's a management nightmare. Right? Was it 1 to 4, 1 to 20, 1 to 300? That's absolutely agree with what Julian said. The more homogeneous you get, if you're just running Twitter, you can manage thousands of servers, right? If you've got that, how many can you sensibly manage? So NetApp comes along and says, what we want to do is propose this. Put inside a nice agile storage infrastructure. Nice network, and then all these different applications with their different characteristics loop down as the storage. And this is what we've delivered in ONTAP 8.1 cluster ONTAP. So it's a fully clustered storage operating system. Enabling us to join our system together, and with some certain things, we can meet the different characteristics of the data as the data requirements change throughout over time. You see, data has different I/O performance requirements through different times of the month or year. Yeah? And there are all sorts of requirements here. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on here. Workloads are moving around, we're providing copies, we're moving systems out to upgrade them, we're adding systems in there. There's loads of stuff going on here, just like there's loads of stuff happening back in your data center, right? Back in your IT environment. But at no time in this whole play out here that we saw did the data stop being served. And that's what non-disruptive operations is all about. That's why it's really important what we do. That's what we deliver. So, mastering IT economics. 3 things. First, we talked about efficiency. I think on average, people are somewhere between 30 to 40% efficient in their storage, so you have 100 terabytes of capacity, and you can store 30 to 40 terabytes of data from that. If we can come along and I can say I can increase that to 8% plus, that's got to be a good thing, because that enables me to save money. Save money. If I can apply automation, I can do something else. This enables me to automate the heck out of it. This enables me to bring applications faster to market. It enables me to make money. It's not saving money, it's making money. And if I can do this in an environment which is not any operational disruption to your services, it prevents me from losing money. Save money, make money, don't lose money. Very key. I would say that you put all those 3 together, and that's a pretty accurate measure of storage value. And if you were looking at the storage spend or looking at something, then I would suggest that you should be doing due diligence, talk to other vendors. You should ask them about these 3 things. What are their answers in that? So that's a very strong answer. So the secrets to infrastructure value across the entire stack is something to do with efficiency, something to do with agility. Agile data infrastructure, right? That's what NetApp brings to it. You see, back to this slide here. Efficiency moves money from here to here, but the agility is what moves it from there to there. A friend of mine asked the question, why did you buy NetApp in the first place? They always answered efficiency. He then asked the next question, why do you keep using NetApp? Why do you keep buying NetApp? He says the answer is never efficiency, it's always because with NetApp I was able to do this. It met the requirement of this. It enabled me to do this, something different. So excuse me, we're getting right to the end now. I just got this as a very quick case. This one other side case study I just want to talk to you. You see, this, and I thought I'd pick banks. Okay, I thought I'd pick banks because we're in London and everything, and I don't know if whatever. I can talk about cosmetics firms, Revlon or Formula One, but I thought I'd pick banks. So this was a small bank in Australia, and they bought NetApp for this. This is what they bought. They need to consolidate their data centers, right? So this is a few years ago, yeah? They need to cut provisioning time. They had all sorts of stuff going on. What they got was this. They got budget freed up. They got to respond to business opportunities. They got to roll out applications quickly. They got their CIO says IT is not just a piece of the business, it's integral to business success. It's paid on the revenue that IT generates for his organization. You can demonstrate that. So right back to one of my first slides. So that was quite nice, I quite like that. But then I thought I'd also show you just another case study, just a little bit more in depth. Okay? And this is with a company called ING Direct. Now, ING Direct is a direct banking company that does all this business in the internet. They piloted this the whole thing over in Australia and grew very quickly up to 1.5 million customers, like in India, very quickly. And they kind of built this as part of the whole ING. But they built up ING Direct, and it was just cobbled together, really. And they had a whole bunch of invested developers, because this is basically a software product, right? Invested 49 developers and 18 testers. And they had no shortage of things they wanted to do, but their IT environment completely constrained their project rollout. They didn't have an environment which could actually deliver what they needed. So what they needed was this. They needed to be able to make an exact copy of the bank, inject the new technology and the new development stuff they'd written into it, aggressively test it, ethical having everything in a completely closed environment to be sure that they can then take that and roll it out to their customer base. Be very careful, right? But to actually create this virtual copy of the bank was taking their IT infrastructure team 4 months to do, to provide them with a copy. So they tried to solve it in many ways, but they were always solving it with old tools and old philosophies. So they put together a team who came on to investigate the market, and they came on and found NetApp and Cisco offering, NetApp, Cisco, and Microsoft offering, which is a flexible together. And they understood what we can do, and they went into the bank, and they said to the bank, this is called the Bank in the Box team, went to the bank and said, we propose that we can put together a virtual copy of our entire bank within 1 hour. And for the skeptics, there were a lot of skeptics, right? They said, right, we'll show you. So they dragged them in, we'll show you the network, just the buttons, create a copy of the bank within 1 hour. Now roll forward, when this got fully deployed, yes, please go ahead. It got deployed, got put in, and within the first 6 months of that, they created 400 copies of the bank. It's dramatically changed the whole way that they did business, the way they came to market, the way they developed, the way they do everything. It changed the way the whole construction of the company did things, because suddenly they could provide copies into other areas of the business for training purposes, for testing, for all different things, for all these different reasons they got this. Okay? This is a tool not just to its old ways, this is for new ways of doing business. That was absolute flexibility. Okay? So I just thought I'd run that by you because I quite like it. It's very pertinent to this complete story. It's the infrastructure as a service into their organization. So I always like to end on this, a bit cheesy, but I'm going to do it anyway. 2 questions for you. The first was, how much value did IT deliver to your organization last year? The next question, obviously, is how much would you like to spend? Okay? So I'll say thank you very much indeed.